It's a new year, it's January 10th, and it is 9 a.m., and I'm going to call this meeting to order. Our first item on the agenda is public comment. Do we have any? All right, then we're going to jump right over to item 4B, our federal legislative update. Welcome, Harry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy New Year to everybody. I'll lead off this by saying that I know Ron will be on at some point. I always kid Ron. I think the Florida legislature always laughs Congress in getting their work done. So you're starting your new budget and legislative session in Tallahassee, and Congress is still struggling to finish up last year's work. But there was some good news this week. Over the weekend, I'm sure you've seen that the Speaker of the House and the Senate and the White House all agreed to the top line figures that they need to finish up their fiscal 24 budget appropriations work. So you recall that the federal government is working under not one but two continuing funding resolutions right now. The first expires on January 19th, which is a week from Friday. That four-bill continuing funding resolution includes, Brad, the Department of Transportation and all the FDA programs. And then the second continuing funding resolution runs until February 2nd and includes 8 other regular appropriations bills. So the fact that they've been able to reach agreement finally on just how much money they're going to spend in 24 is a good start. The next step for them is to try and figure out how they're going to split that allocation up among the 12 appropriations subcommittees. So that work is underway. Just for demonstration purposes, in the Congress this year, the Republican-controlled House marked up a transportation appropriations bill at $65 billion, which was a 25% cut over fiscal year 23. The Senate marked up their bill at $88 billion, which was about level funding. But the difference between the House and Senate bill was almost $23 billion, that's with a B. So the fact that they've reached agreements at the higher funding levels means that the transportation numbers, Brad, should be in pretty good shape, and funding for the FTA and some of the other competitive programs that you all compete for every year, funding should be in pretty good shape for that. So the trick now is to try and get all this work done. There's already a conversation yesterday in Congress about extending the continuing funding resolutions into March to give all the committees time to get their work done. So that'll further delay moving some money out to various agencies, but that's a good sign. It's also going to delay, Brad, the submission of the President's budget request. Usually comes up the first Monday in February. It looks like they're going to push it out till sometime in early to mid-March. The President's going to give a late State of the Union speech this year on March 7th. So that we saw a conversation yesterday that they'll probably submit the budget just after his State of the Union speech. So they'll finish up late this year, and they'll get a late start on their appropriations process this year. But anyway, that's good news there. The second conversation point here is, as you know, Congress in 2021 passed the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which supercharged funding for a number of federal programs and created some new programs. PSTA has done very well competing for some of those funds. We're now in year 3 of the 5-year bill, so this will be the third round of funding opportunities will start to roll out. I think Raise Grant, Brad, is the first one up, and then some of the others will be coming down the pike.
Yeah.
So that will happen because the funding was set aside in separate legislation. Those grant funding notices will start to come out this February and March, regardless of when they finish up the appropriations process. So we'll continue, Brad, to forward that information on to you and your staff. The last thing I should have mentioned is, I guess, as we talk about wrapping up the congressional appropriations work for fiscal 24, you'll recall that Congressman Castor included $1 million in the transportation and appropriations bill for PSTA to do 2 things. One is for charging infrastructure to support your expanding electric bus fleet. And a second item was to provide funding for an electric, I guess you call it a shuttle bus, to operate out at the pier that I think the city and PSTA, City of St. Petersburg and PSTA worked on together. So that the fact that they're going to, looks like, wrap up their appropriations work without going to a 4-year continuing funding resolution means that these congressionally funded projects by Congress will be included in the final law.
Yeah.
So that's good news, Brad. And then I would say that the last thing is, we mentioned starting work on the next appropriation cycle. We'll have to start giving some thought to what requests you might have for Congress for direct funding for PSTA priorities in the fiscal 25 cycle. So we'll probably need to submit those sometime late February, early March to begin consideration for the next cycle. So, Ken, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure there's much else I can report on related to transportation. There's some other transportation parties going on. There's a Federal Aviation Administration authorization bill that's brewing out there that's consuming a lot of time in Congress. But I think most of your programs that support transit services should be in pretty good shape for the next couple of weeks. I'm happy to, Mr. Chairman, answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you very much for that update.
Oh, can I back up? I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, one more thing. And I've talked to Debbie and Brad both about this. We expect in the first quarter of this year that the Department of Treasury will be releasing regulations to implement a new program called Direct Pay. This is a direct result of the Inflation Reduction Act, which was 2022 legislation passed by Congress to address climate resiliency and climate issues. But one of the things that they do in that bill is they provide tax credits for companies and individuals who invest in energy efficiency systems, electric vehicles, electric heavy equipment, buses, those kinds of things. Because you as the municipalities, cities, counties, and you as a public agency don't submit federal tax returns, the bill sets up a new system called Direct Pay, where public entities will be able to submit invoices to the Department of Treasury through an electronic portal to get reimbursed for certain investments you make in energy efficient systems. That would include things you're doing like electric vehicle infrastructure, solar panels, the purchase of electric buses, all those sort of things. You'll be eligible for up to a 30% rebate from the federal government for the purchases you make there. Now, we've sent, I think, along to Debbie the interim regulations that Treasury issued earlier in 2023. They're having to finalize that on exactly how this is all going to work. And one of the questions is how do you apportion the investment you make when there's federal dollars involved? So if you get federal money to help buy an electric bus, how much of that can you ask for as a direct rebate for your purchase? So they're still working through those issues, but they hope to have that portal open in March where you can submit invoices for these eligible projects, and they will go back to purchases of equipment and systems you made going back to January 1st of 2023. So, as you're investing these things to upgrade your systems, there's no cap on the amount of money that's available. It's an unlimited program. It's not a competitive program. You have an invoice. It's a legitimate expense. You can get reimbursed. And the program is expected to run for 10 years unless for some reason Congress cancels or changes it. So it'll be a 10-year opportunity for you to seek reimbursement for some of the things that you're already doing. So we'll continue, Brad and Debbie, to share that information with you as it becomes available and help you in any way trying to get those funds back that you can use for other purposes. So sorry again, Mr. Chairman, happy to answer any questions now.
All right, thank you so much. Brad, you go first.
Okay. Well, one, thank you, Harry, for that reminder of that rebate program, but I don't believe I've seen the 2020, you said that in 2023, there were some interim guidance?
Yeah, drafts. I can.
Yeah, I'll send
You
those
have
to
it?
you. I'll send those to
Okay,
you.
okay. But they're gonna update that.
Correct. They have, those are interim proposed regulations. They'll issue final regulations here. They took comments on those interim regulations and they'll issue final regulations. We were hoping they'd have the portal open sometime in 2023, but it didn't happen. So,
Okay. Well, as you and I talked, it seems we do have some potential investments. The electric buses and the infrastructure that we've paid with non-federal funds, namely the VW settlement funds and our own funds for the infrastructure. Seems like that could be quite possible that we could get a rebate for that.
yeah.
Yeah. That's good news.
Correct.
I had a couple other, I made a couple other notes. So, yeah, thank you, Harry. So, we'll hopefully have Congress approve the 2024 budget, and then therefore, sometime years later, we'll get the 2024 earmark that is in that 2024 budget. the delay is almost FEMA-like with the speed in which the DOT, anyway. 2025, we have a meeting internally that will try to come up with our priorities for 2025 budget that is going to be starting. I wanted to ask you about the, I would guess we'll be looking at when they will be issuing the bus and bus facilities notice of funding. That usually, I think, is in this next month or so.
Usually it's February, Brad, and I think they're gonna keep those on schedule, so they should come out sometime in February.
Okay. The only grant that I think is pending right now, and that we had talked about at our last legislative committee meeting about trying to get Congresswoman Castor or Luna to maybe write a letter of support or something, was, I can't remember the name of the grant program, but it's for our FAIR, Senior Citizen FAIR technology. It's an innovative grant source that we applied for funding so that folks could make a virtual ID, driver's license, so that they could qualify for discounts right on their phone, rather than having to go and show their driver's license to a human at the transportation centers.
It's a SMART grant, I believe, Brad,
SMART?
right? To call those SMART grants?
Yeah, maybe, is that what, yeah, I think, yeah, you're right. So, I don't know when those are gonna be, when those are scheduled to be announced. But I know we turned in the application before. And then, I'm assuming you haven't heard anything, but, we're still just monitoring or waiting for something to happen on the Department of Labor and the union issue, and the union dues. It's my understanding that our union has not objected to any of the grants, and so we're moving along okay. They're not collecting dues. They're not collecting dues from their supervisors, at least now, because they can't under Florida law. So we're just tracking that. I think that's it. Just to follow up with you on the FAIR, the SMART grant. Yeah.
Sure. I know we made a request for letters, Brad. It was right before the holiday, if I remember correctly, so I'll check back and see what the letters are.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much. You have a question?
Thank you all.
Harry, Jeff Gow, the program that you spoke about in the portal that's supposed to open in April, is that something for just agencies like PSTA, or is that also available to municipalities?
Yes, it's for all, it's municipalities and all public agencies, so you will be eligible in Dunedin for that. In fact, I was just up in Dunedin over the weekend, and so I took a look at your beautiful city hall up there, so I would imagine there's some energy efficient systems went into that city hall that might be eligible for reimbursement, and some other things you're doing in the city, so we can make sure you get that. I'll send you the same information I sent Brad, just to take a look at what they're looking to do, and you can share with your city staff.
Oh, that'd be great, thank you.
So Harry, it's retroactive. For example, the city hall for Dunedin was built last year. They can claim that. That's allowed.
For projects that were undertaken and after January 1st of 2023, yes, that's correct.
Wonderful. Thank you.
When did your city hall?
And like I say, the program will run is planned for a 10-year run, so
But it'd be
with no cap on funding, so any expenses you have that are reimbursable. And this, what I'll send you will include a chart listing all the eligible items that are eligible for reimbursement, so.
And you mentioned it's up to 30%, correct?
Correct.
That's great.
It is great,
That's really
Yeah.
a good program.
that's nice.
I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
going to generate a lot of jobs and everything. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And for those of you, by the way, that are involved with nonprofits, it's also available for nonprofits. So churches and other organizations that are not nonprofits are also eligible to receive the rebates too. So if they invest in something for solar panels for a church or private school, whatever, they also would be eligible.
Thank you for that update. If you get the email to Brad on anything you have, that'd be great. He'd share it with us. I would like to share that with my city council. I think that's, and the citizens. I think that's a great program. Thank you so much for giving us that update.
Yep.
I don't have any other questions. Brad, you got anything else? We good?
I think we're good,
All
yeah.
right, well, Harry, have fun in that snow.
All right. No snow yet.
All right, and we
Thank
appreciate
y'all.
it. Yeah, we appreciate everything
Thank
you
you,
do for us. Have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, so the next item on our agenda is try to get quorum, and we're waiting for
Still
Jamie
waiting on Gina.
Robinson or Gina Driscoll, and I don't have any text messages from either or.
I don't either. We're just waiting.
Mr. Chairman, this is Ron Pierce. I'm on as well.
Hey, Ron,
Oh, hi, Ron, I didn't see you. Welcome.
welcome from Tallahassee.
If you like, Mr. Chairman, I can jump into the state report for you.
Absolutely. Why don't you jump in, Ron? Welcome. Thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, everybody. Quick update from Tallahassee, day 2 of session up here. It was cold this morning, by the way, not as cold as DC, and there's not snow on the ground, but it was in the high 30s this morning on the drive into the Capitol, so a little chilly up here. I'm gonna go over probably 5 or 6 bills that would have a direct impact on PSTA. I'll stop after each one to see if you all have questions. Obviously, the first one, the Representative Linda Cheney's local bill has been filed. It was filed, I believe, on Monday. It is House Bill 1487. It is identical to what the delegation approved, which would have to be, because that's kind of the delegation rules. The bill has not been referenced yet. I would suspect, or fully expect that the bill would probably be referenced, if not later this week, early next week. It probably does not have time to get on the agenda for its first committee of reference for week 2. I would suspect that it would be up the first time probably during week 3. Most bills, as you all know, typically in Tallahassee, especially local bills, typically get 3 committees of reference. So again, something week 3 is probably some version of a path of like week 3, week 5, maybe week 6 or week 7, if it makes it through that process on the House side. Just to make sure, and we've talked about this before, just to make sure everybody's clear again on, there is no Senate bill and there will be no Senate bill. So the only bill that moves is just House Bill 1487. All the local bills go through the committee process on the House side. Once those make it through on the House, they go over to the Senate. Then all the local bills over there kind of end up in a local bill pot, and they do a consent agenda for local bills over there. So I will stop there on the local bill to see if you all have any questions, comments, concerns about the process, or about the bill in general.
So, Ron, I have a quick question. So you said there's no Senate bill, so it'll die, correct?
No, all local bills do not. No local bills have a Senate bill. That's just the process. One local bill does not have to have a Senate sponsor. It only moves to the House, then it goes to the Senate.
Okay. All right, you have any questions?
Yeah, Ron, just educational. This is a House bill, right? So it's going to move over to the Senate as a consent item. And is it a House bill because it is sponsored by a representative? Does the same thing happen with local Senate bills?
Jeff, all local bills go through the House process. There's a number of local bills, and there's probably 100 local bills that have been filed this year, and all of them are only filed in the House and only go through the committee process in the House. That's the rules for local bills.
Fascinating. So if I am a senator, I have to get a representative to sponsor it? Or it doesn't matter?
It has to be approved by the delegation. So every local bill that's in Tallahassee, like the Phelps County delegation, they have to approve it. Once it's approved by that local delegation, then the House member that's pushing it has the ability to file it in Tallahassee.
But what if it's not a House member pushing it? It's a senator that's.
It has to be a House member pushing it because it can only move through the House.
Okay, right, thank you.
But And just to confirm, Ron, what you said last meeting, or the way you described it nicely, was, so it's kind of going to go through the House, go through these committees, and then the Senate, it'll go over to the Senate on a consent agenda with all the other local bills from around the state, and then any senator from Pinellas, any of the 3 senators from Pinellas, can take it off that consent agenda, and somehow that, through some way, that would kill it. If a senator, or they could kill it, if they took it off that consent agenda. That's why the senators are sort of key. Is that?
And that's why since the Senate's not really involved in the process, kind of the checks and balances to give a senator from that respective delegation the ability to pull a bill off the local bill consent agenda, if they've got concerns or questions on the bill. So that is correct.
Now, is that a local senator, or is that any senator can pull it from the consent agenda?
Has to be a local senator. Whoever told it to be any senator at the delegation meeting misspoke. Has to be has to be a senator from that respective delegation.
Thank you. I didn't know that. I appreciate that.
So, Ron, or just for the committee members, so as you know, the bill that passed the delegation and is now House Bill 1487 is substantially different from the original bill. And in my mind, there's sort of the 2 issues with the bill. There's the governance, there's the change to the board makeup and reduction of the board makeup, reduction of city representation, and creation of state representation on the PSA board. Governance is an issue that I know the cities of Pinellas County that are being taken off the board are concerned about, because they've passed resolutions opposing the bill. St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Largo, and Dunedin, I think so far, have all passed resolutions opposing the bill. Then there's the I don't know what you would call it, the operating part of the bill, changing reporting responsibilities and things like that. That has changed a lot, thanks to a lot of work by Ron with Representative Cheney. And whether or not that has really much of an impact on PSTA, I'm not really sure. It has requires reporting to the county commission, I think 2 times a year. It requires supermajority votes for any lane elimination or eminent domain, which PSA hasn't done really either of those 2 things. So I don't think that's really an issue. And then it has confusing language regarding advertising for restricting our ability to advertise certain things. But maybe that'll be clarified. But it seems like the issue that is most concerning to the elected officials of Pinellas County is the governance issue. So I guess my question to you, Ron, is at this point, what's your advice to the PSTA board on anything that individuals should do, should do, or should other cities pass resolutions? Should they call their senators? What should be done, or what could be done?
Well, Brad, I think that's would be up to each of the respective cities. I mean, if you're a local government that's losing a seat and have concerns, I think number 1, you should reach out to Representative Cheney to share those concerns. But many of you have already done that. Number 2, would also share that with other delegation members from Pinellas County. And then probably the most important ones you probably should share that with is share those with your respective senators from the delegation as well. From a local government standpoint, I think you're right, Brad. I think the largest impact that we've heard, I think, from board members at this point is for them losing representation on the board. So, and I think it's up to those respective board members how you want to share those concerns, either A, individually as a city council member for the respective city, or B, have your respective city pass a resolution. I think that's completely up to, you all, as board members, how you want it, you want to move forward. I know a number of you have already passed the resolutions. Again, I will share those with, members of the delegation to make sure that, sharing the concern about losing representation, and more importantly, why you're concerned about losing the representation on PSTA's board.
Yeah.
I agree.
So, Ron, I plan to be up in Tallahassee, I think, with a number of PSA board members. I'm not sure if either of you, the last week of January, January 28th. So I don't know what week of session that is. That would be 4.
Did you get your flight? Are you flying? I'm flying up on the 28th. It's a Sunday night flight. I just booked it
I don't know if we booked that
yesterday.
yet. We have?
For the Tallahassee trip in January, the end of January?
Yeah.
Yeah, all done.
I think I'm flying too. I don't know if it's that day, but yeah. So we'll be there and try to meet with all of our delegation. I'm assuming, right, Ron? And then, since the Florida League of Cities is having their delegation meeting that same week, there's a number. I think a couple of PSA board members will be there. We'll try to organize your schedule around when he gets us meetings.
I just have some meetings Monday morning, and then I have a meeting Tuesday morning, and then that's it, that I have to be at for the Florida League of Cities. But I would like to actually, Ron, and go with you and Brad to go against this bill, HB 1487, especially if I can meet with Senator Hooper and Senator Nick DeCiclia. I'd like to meet with them, with you both. And then also House Representative Adam Anderson.
Yeah. Okay. And then in addition, the Pinellas Chambers are going to Tallahassee the week prior.
Okay.
And now I am going to go with them again. So I'll be in Tallahassee twice. I think it's pretty much all the chambers are going. Whit Blanton is going, and that is on the 23rd. I know David Albritton from Clearwater is going with his chamber. I don't know if any other PSA board members are going. And so, Ron, hopefully if there's other PSA board members especially there, and I know that some of the chamber presidents have asked me for updates on the Representative Cheney bill, to maybe get with you. Maybe you could talk to them with me.
Sure, I'll be happy to do that.
Okay. Great. Do you want to move on to some of the other bills?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, there's a bunch of other bills, and I'll run through these pretty quick. I know it's already 9:30. There's a bill relating to alternative fuel fleet vehicle rebate program, which would be really big for PSTA.
Yeah.
It's actually up in the Senate later today. We're going to go wait and support. It expands the current program that currently today is just for natural gas powered fleets, to include hybrid and electric fleet vehicles as well. Again, that's up in the Senate later today. We expect the House bill potentially to move as early as next week. Then there's 3 other bills I'm going to mention briefly that would potentially have huge impacts on us as an organization. Number 1, start with the special districts bill. There's a bill relating to special districts, which is really being driven by the House. It's SB 1058 and House Bill 703. It's really targeted at mesquite control districts and special fire districts as well. Unfortunately, there's a provision in there that we kind of get caught up in, which is that if you are a special district that has the ability to collect ad valorem taxes, that the ad valorem would have to be able to collect those taxes, would have to go back and be voted on by the public every 10 years. It has to be renewed every 10 years. So since we collect ad valorem, we have the ability to collect ad valorem. The way the bill is currently written, we would get caught up in that. So we're meeting with the House sponsor and the Senate sponsor to see if they want to carve out transit agencies, or what does that look like? Because, again, I know we're not the target, we're kind of unintended consequences at this point, but again, we just want to make sure that we're not going to get impacted there. There's two different DOT bills that are moving that would impact us. Number one, there's a bill by Senator Hooper and Representative Esposito, House Bill 287, Senate Bill 266, which says that no more than 20% of revenue from state fuel taxes and other revenue deposited in the DOT trust fund can be spent on public transit. That language has been out there for a number of years. So just let me start with, we've talked to DOT about it in meetings in the past. I can tell you today that DOT is well below that 20% threshold. So I don't think the concerns about today, I think the concerns about in the future. And what's interesting is that they use the word public transit. I mean, they're very specifically about public transit. So that's something we want to bring up with Senator Hooper, Brad, when you come up and be a part of that meeting. And then there's another DOT bill that's completely separate. The Esposito and Hooper bill is a very small bill, it's only like 6 pages long. There's a much broader bill that's been filed by Shane Abbott up in the Panhandle on the House side, and Nick DeSigley, Senator DeSigley, that basically there's a provision in there that we're not even sure what the impact would be at this point because there's no number, but basically that it says that public transit providers' administrative costs can be no more than 10% above the annual statewide average of administrative cost. So when that language came out, Brad's team, Debbie, and a couple of others reached out to us and said, well, what's that number? We reached out to DOT. That number doesn't exist today. Like, they can't tell us what's 10% above the statewide average of administrative cost. And so staff's working on that. We know it's going to be a part of the first committee of reference as part of the staff analysis. Once it's a part of the staff analysis, what we'll do is make sure that whatever that number is, it doesn't have a huge impact on us. I can't imagine it's going to impact us, that our administrative costs are, should be well below that, but again, we'll make sure that it's not. And then the last thing I'm going to mention to you is our appropriation has been filed in Tallahassee. Senator Rouson and Lindsey Cross has filed $1 million appropriation with the PSTA to help fund our late shift program, which we believe will no longer be eligible through the Transportation Disadvantaged Trust Fund, and also to help fund the Veterans Ride Free program as well. So we're in week 1 of session. We believe that the initial budget will probably come out around week 3 or week 4. We believe that Senator Rouson is going to try to fund it initially in the Senate budget, and most likely would not be funded in the House, puts it in a position to get in the conference and try to get a number. So I'll be honest with you all, from an expectation standpoint, with the PSTA local bill being out there and moving, that is a distraction for us. So just know, like, we're trying to get money, but meanwhile, we have this distraction out there on the local bill. I'm hoping that the local bill, from a distraction standpoint, doesn't hurt our ability to get dollars. I talked to Senator Rouson and his team earlier this week. I know something they're committed to. He's obviously vice chair of the Full Approach Committee, so I would fully expect to have this, to get some funding for it. I'm not sure we get the full $1 million, but I'm confident we can probably get something in the initial Senate budget to see where we end up in the budget conference process. So I will stop there. I know that's an awful lot, and I'm happy to answer any questions from you, Mr. Chairman, or any of the committee members.
Thank you, Ron. Brad, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, two additional things I just, Ron, maybe you can touch on. One, the HEART study. The HEART study was published as required and submitted to the state on January 1st. I enjoyed reading the 156 pages of it. It was underwhelming as far as bold recommendations. It didn't really have any significant recommendations in the study. But as Ron has said to us for a number of months now, maybe the only recommendations I had were to maybe look at the governance, the board makeup of HEART also. And I didn't know if, Ron, you have any comments on how that will play in Tallahassee.
Yeah, no, Brad, that's a really good point, and I'm sorry I should have included that on the list. So from a HEART standpoint, the report did come out the Senate received it, last week. I briefly talked to Senator Burgess about it. I've not talked to Representative McClure yet. I believe when it's all said and done, I think it's gonna focus on governance. The question is, how do they do that? Obviously, the bill filing deadline's done. I don't think this rises to the level of doing a proposed committee bill. I think they would probably do it through one of the transportation bills that are moving. I think they would have the ability to do that. I think the question becomes is it front and center this year during the 2024 session, or do they want to come back and do it potentially in 25? I don't have an answer yet. I would suspect they want to do something this year. They were that's why they were pushing so hard last year to get the study done by January 1. And again, if they do anything, I fully expect it would focus solely and only on the governance model, on shrinking that board down, which is one of the recommendations in the 100 and whatever page report that was published.
Okay, yeah, and it does not seem to really have a direct impact on PSDA, it just may, anymore. And then the second one, which I was just asked about at the chamber meeting I went to yesterday. There's this bill, and I can't remember, I don't know the number, that requires all businesses in Florida to continue to accept cash. And they were asked whether or not PSDA would be affected by this. I talked with our own attorneys, and reading the bill yesterday, our own attorney did not believe that PSDA as a governmental entity was affected, but some of our services, some of our individual services, like Uber, does not accept cash, and Transdev and Sunrunner as a one route does not accept cash. But I don't know if I think we should be monitoring that bill also. I don't know if it has a chance of passing or.
It has no chance of passing, Brad. So
Okay.
It's been introduced over the last couple of years. The reason right now that people are asking so many questions about it, it has got a lot of media over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
There was a news story out of Sarasota. There was another news story out of the Panhandle. I know a lot of different sports and entertainment organizations, businesses, large chambers that would have concerns with that as well. It has moved one committee in the Senate. It moved last week. It has not moved in the House yet. I do expect it to maybe move a little bit, but I know a lot of different organizations would have a lot of concerns about the ability to go back to where they would have to accept cash. Today, obviously, is up to the respective business. I can tell you, as pro-business, typically as Tallahassee has been, I know a lot of House and Senate leadership would kind of view that decision as it's up to the business on if they want to do just credit or if they do some version of cash and credit. So I'll take it, and if it continues to move, I'll alert you all. But I'd be very surprised if besides it may again move another committee or two. But I can't imagine that bill has the ability to make it to the finish line.
I was just thinking to myself that this is a time when I would wish Senator Brandes was still back up there, because he's all about modern new technology, and this is going the opposite way of where he usually wanted. Anyway, okay. Well, thank you for that update on that. I don't think I have.
And again, it's got a lot of media, so I've had a lot of clients reach out about it, Brad, because again, listen, Sarasota had a big story on it. I think it's ended up on a couple of NPR things, and again, up in the Panhandle, somebody did a story on it as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything else?
Have you guys heard of any other bills that are percolating up there?
All right, so, Jeff, anything?
Nope.
All right, Ron, so we're good. I will see you on the 29th, all right? With
That's the
Brad?
plan.
Yep.
All right, I appreciate your update, and now you heading over to the Capitol, what are you doing?
Strongly about it,
About to go to the Capitol and do the people's work.
I bet you are. All right, don't stop trying to get us money, okay? Don't quit.
I got it.
All right.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
We appreciate everything. Ron, have a
Thank
great
you, Ron.
day.
Have a good week. We'll see you soon.
All right. All right, so now we are done with our information items, 4A and 4B. We still don't have quorum, so we're gonna move that item to the next meeting, correct?
Correct.
Is that okay?
Yep.
All right. All right, then we're gonna move right on to item 5. Any other business? Jeff, you go first. What do you got?
No, I really actually don't have anything.
Oh,
I'm good.
All right.
I know that, well, Senator Hooper also has that bill that he filed for EV and how to try and get some of that lost
$300,
tax money.
$250 or something?
Yeah, and according to him, he doesn't expect it to move.
He doesn't.
Yeah, and I was surprised at that.
So what he's talking about is when we go to the pump, we pay a tax on gasoline.
Yeah.
And the people with EV don't pay any tax, so he put like a $250 a year,
Mhm.
a small fee,
Yeah.
and he actually told you that?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't
No,
talk to him.
yeah,
about
because
it.
I talked to him about in support of it. I think it's time that occurs. And he said, thank you, but he didn't think it was gonna move anywhere.
Oh,
And it could be just because of, it's an election cycle and people would rather not deal with, because it's considered a tax.
Right.
And so I think even if it moves, the governor might veto it, just this election.
Okay. I had heard about that.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, I don't know if,
well, when we were up with him, we met with him, he mentioned it, when we were in Tallahassee. He
okay,
mentioned that bill, about the tax,
yeah.
the electric car tax.
No, I know Commissioner Schulman told me his analysis, of course, he drives an electric car,
Yeah, he doesn't.
was that 200, he was neutral or okay with the banning something, but his calculation was that 250 was more than the average gas tax that people pay.
And if there's any
year.
criticism, I've heard that's what it is. They just want to make sure that it's an equitable
Yeah,
surcharge
fair.
or tax, fair tax.
Yeah. So we'll be up there, the chambers, the chambers asked me what they can do, on the PSDA bill to support public transit, which is good. Clearwater, St. Pete.
Is our chamber going? How do you-
Yeah, the upper,
Who's going, do you know? I haven't heard a word.
I don't know, I saw a list of people, but I don't think that was the full list, because I think it was just maybe Clearwater's, group.
I'm gonna find out today. I'll share that with you when I find out. I got it on my notes to find out who's going from our chamber. Anybody from your chamber going?
Yeah,
I think the
don't know.
chamber is going, yes.
I'd be surprised if the mayor doesn't go, but I haven't talked to her about it,
Yeah.
I know nothing about it.
so I don't know. I'd be disappointed if they didn't, but
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Do you have any other business you wanna share with Jeff and I, since no one else showed up?
the dedicated
No.
ones are here.
Yeah, the dedicated ones are here, right?
You are here. Yep, yep, yep.
All right then. Item 6, meeting adjourned. Next meeting is February 7th, 2024 at 9 AM. Don't be late. It's an important date.
I guess we should be organizing our timeline around, like Ron does, of what week in legislative session in Tallahassee it is.
Yes.
We should,
All right, meeting adjourned.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks, staff, for all you do. We wouldn't be able to do this without you.
it's true.
All right, so
Very true.
Brad.
So, yeah, are you going? Oh, he's still good. All right, you got the write-up,
The what now?
the summary write-up for your
Yes,
lunch?
yeah, I got it in here. Yeah, I'm gonna read that today for my
Okay.
luncheon.